Hello, Playdate. This is Don.
This is Nick.
I'm Ryan.
This week we are covering Playdate news.
Recent indie releases.
And pretending like episode numbers don't matter.
Because they don't. Thank you for listening. Let's get started.
Let's get started indeed.
Go ahead, Ryan. You messed up, so go ahead and you take this correction.
All right, so we have a correction to start off the show. We are dirty Americans, or at least I am. Well, I guess we all are, because nobody corrected me. When we were reading off the list of locations that Playdate now ships to, we saw DE.
No, the highest selling territories for catalog games.
All right, fine, I'll put a correction in the next episode too.
When
we were reading off the thing that Don just said, we saw the letters DE. We pondered, what could that be? What should that be? We came to the conclusion DE probably meant Denmark. Bang! That was wrong. What it actually means is Deutschland, Germany. We're very sorry for getting that wrong. We were corrected later on the social medias, so thank you for reaching out to us, kind listener, and letting us know how dirty and American we really are. So our apologies. Thank you. That leads us to boop, the news and notes for this episode, starting with Don and Nick. You're not going to believe it. Guess what happened? Somebody called the bingo tip line. That means the Hello Playdate podcast line, which is at 724 bingos 1. That's 724-246-4671. And Don is going to do a seamless job of editing it into the show right here.
Hey, Don, Nick, and Ryan. This is Garrett. I was just calling for Hello Playdate Podcast to finally make use of this bingo line. Loved everything that was said about Under the Tree. The artwork was amazing. There's so much love poured into the game. Really useful to know about the notes thing. I probably never would have checked that and found out a little bit more lore about the game to, know why we're going under the tree. All of you keep up the great work. I'm excited to play next week's game. And Ryan, good luck judging and doing whatever it is you said you were going to do on the podcast. Love listening to you all every week. See you later.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Nick, for hosting 1-900 number for the bingo tip line.
1-900. Good Lord.
They still have
those? So if you would, let's hope not. If you would like to call the totally toll-free, no, not toll-free, but not a 900 number. It's not, you're not paying us a buck.
$3.99 a minute.
724 bingos 1. That's 724-246-4671. I'll say it again. So you'll call just like that last lovely caller called this number, 724-246-4671. We would love to hear from you as well. That was a very nice call. Thank you for calling.
And it's country code 1.
It is country code 1. That's an important
Americans, dude. Note. Not the whole world has the same country code, Ryan.
I thought we've already established that we are dirty Americans. At least I am the dirtiest.
And you know who isn't? The person that corrected us on the Deutschland thing is Slider2711. So thank you to Slider.
Seamlessly edited. Thank you, Don.
Perfect.
All right. Guess what else is crazy, kind listeners? Nick has a news and note for us today. Nick, take it away.
Hey, everybody. There was an article in gamesindustry.biz titled, "We Never Really Thought Anybody Was Going to Make a Playdate Game." And
what the heck does that mean?
It's about the creation of the Playdate. I would encourage anybody who has an interest in the Playdate to check this out. And there will be a link in the show notes.
The power of positive thinking.
Speaking of articles, there was an article in Debug magazine. I was previously unfamiliar with this magazine about indie games, and Pixel Ghost was the fellow I saw touting this article. Even posted some pictures of this physical magazine called Debug with pictures of the Playdate, interviews with devs, mentions of things that are Playdatey. So if you would like to check that out, we've included a link or so in the show notes of today's episode. Did you guys check that out?
Yeah, it's hard to read in the thumbnail, but the pictures looked pretty, and that's pretty exciting that it gets more coverage in a new in another magazine. So thank you, Ghost Pixel, for putting that out there.
Yeah, very cool. Speaking of very cool, there was an email that came through from Panic since we all last chat, dear listener. And one of the things they were mentioning is that Cable's GDC talk was now archived and available online. I know this is the kind of thing that most of us are probably like, it's like an hour. I don't know if I have that amount of time in my life. But I popped this thing on, and I got to say, it was really super great. If you listen to this show, you're probably like, I know everything about Playdate already. I felt similar feelings. Cable is his typical kind, self-effacing, somewhat manic, awesome self. And he tells a lot about the Playdate development that I had never heard of before. I've listened to the official podcast. I've watched the videos that they put out prior to this. And it was really, really interesting. Also quite funny. Also very heartwarming. Just like the whole bit from start to finish. And this is coming from somebody who is a professor. Like, I'm kind of picky about who I sit down and listen talk to me. I feel like, okay, I've done this for a very long time, and if people aren't good at speaking publicly, then I kind of start to tune out. Cable was amazing, did an amazing presentation, very focused, very this is my grand public speaking I was just talking about.
You don't listen to this podcast, so he's telling the truth.
So anyhow, big recommendation. Go watch this Cable talk. I think you'll really enjoy it, and it's free. Go check it out.
Very cool.
I'm guessing you guys have not watched this yet.
No, I didn't realize it was an audio event. I thought it was like a streaming video where you had like a presentation. Is that what it is? Like slides and stuff?
It is a video with slides and stuff, and it is now available online for free. You could probably watch most of it without seeing most of it. But you know, the visual presentation is good too.
Cool.
But if you're pressed for time or pressed for visual attention, then yeah, pop it on in the background. Give it a listen.
I will make visual attention time.
Okay.
Sounds
fantastic. Good. Yeah, it is. I promise. Let's see what else we got here. We got a Video Games Are Good article about Pulp, featuring thoughts from several devs like Alternate Hamlet, George Banks, and let's see, I think it was Ron Kent, if I'm not mistaken.
Ron Lent.
Ron Lent. Boy, howdy. That sounded wrong to me, and sure enough, it was a typo. Ron Lent. So some folks that we know and love here, and a lovely article. Boy, we are lousy with articles this week, aren't we?
Playdate's blowing up. It's hitting the mainstream. Now that you can buy them without having to wait 6 months or a year, people are getting more excited about it, which is really cool.
Jumping on it. Now we can tout our hipster cred and say we were there when.
Well.
So, speaking of hipster cred, you guys know about Scenic Route Software. He just posted something about the ability on Catalog to make sale items. And he said, hey, I've got this ability now. Let's use it. And so currently, right now, Post Hero is 50% off. So get Post Hero half price. And I hear there are more games on sale in addition to that. So head on over to one of these links in our show notes to check out some salesy type of games.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention. Just want to mention real quick. Pocket Math, $1 medial. We just talked about a couple weeks ago.
Oh, what?
$1 Crank and Shoot, $2, and Space Rat Miner currently $8. So it's in good company. It looks like they're changing this up every couple weeks. So take a look at the sale tab.
Way cool. Fantastic. Well, we're not done yet with the news and notes. You guys still with me? Well, here it goes anyway. Fantastic. We've got the Uncrank'd Game Jam going on right now as well. Boy, howdy. So if you're not familiar with this, we've got a link in the show notes as always, but essentially Uncrank'd is hosting a game jam, and it's happening for the next 3.5 days at this point. So hop on there. This is really supposed to be a very entry-level, beginner-friendly game jam. So if you're feeling some feels about whether or not you belong here, you totally belong here. Go check it out. And if you got any questions, you can hop over and chat with Zanya or Pizza Fuel or Dominic Haas and ask them some questions about the Uncrank'd game jam. Really curious to see what comes out of this, guys.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Definitely.
It finishes up this weekend, and the themes for this one are reflective and float. So far, there's one submission in from Matt Sefton, and we'll see what else pops up this weekend.
So there's some judges here who are the folks that I just mentioned, Zanya, Pizza Fuel, Dev, and Dominic Haas. But they've got some superstars here. They got Nevin Mergen, Pulp creator and Panic employee. And it looks like there's a one Don Walton of the Hello Playdate podcast as a judge as well. This is news to me. I just found this out right now. Congratulations, Don.
Zanya and Pizza Fuel reached out, and it sounded fun. So yeah, I'm gonna play through some games this weekend.
That's so cool. Good for you.
Very cool.
Look at you being all modest, not telling me about this. Happy to see your name here.
Me too. I'm happy to see my name there. I'm
Cool.
honored. Thank you.
Yeah, that is very cool. All right.
Don't
do you guys
forget.
have-
We need to tease on the back of Uncrank'd Game Jam. We're going to tease Uncrank'd issue 4 coming very soon with a very special article from one of the not only one of the judges of the Uncrank'd Game Jam, myself, but also Nick and Ryan. 3 of us will be making an appearance in issue 4. So you're going to want to pre-order. Whenever the pre-order goes up, you're going to want to order extra copies, have a stack under the tree at Christmas,
and see how they fit all this incompetence under one cover. See if they can do it. Good luck, Sonia. Best of luck with the editing.
Yeah, so let's a little teaser there.
All right, number 4 coming up with ours truly. Okay, well, I think that really does it for the news and notes. Is that correct? Can I?
Indeed.
And
one last thing, Ryan. Thank you so much. You've been killing it with the news and notes lately.
Ooh, thanks.
The past couple of months, you've been all over it. And even Nick contributed this week. Thank you guys. our own little Walter Cronkites over here. Thank you so much.
On it. I see a tweet, and then I can't rest until it's in our show notes for the following week. It's become part of my life. So happy to do it.
Appreciate it.
You got it. Speaking of which, speaking of doing fantastic jobs, it's time for Don's boopity boop, 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 respectful boops, boopity boop, indie inventory with one Don Walton. Don, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Don't forget to rate and review. 5 stars only. All of these games up on itch. Throw a review down, throw a rating. That's how they bubble up to the top of the popularity charts. But first off is a catalog game, because we want to congratulate Mufalon Cloud finally releasing his new hit game, Be Kind to Yourself. It's a shoot 'em. Oh, it looks like a shoot 'em up mixed with a falling block puzzle. It looks bizarre. He's got his own. He's a very unique dev. He knows how to pack a lot of fun and personality into his games. So you'll have to visit the link to watch the GIFs, because it's got a lot going on here. So if you want to be mentioned first on the indie inventory, pass along review codes, because that will get you to the top of the list.
Oh, Lord.
We are not above bribery. So thank you for sharing that. Unfortunately, I've not had a chance to try it. We just got it last night. But
is that true? That seems like a Donism. Don runs the indie inventory, so I guess it's true.
It's true. Yeah, right up to the top. It starts with bribery, and then whatever I think looks cool, and then whatever appeals to me with heartfelt dialogue in the itch description, and then whatever's left.
So, okay. So you just answered my question. I was going to ask, are the final indie inventory games the one that you see as like the dregs? Is that what's happening here?
The dregs don't make the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the bottom of the cream of the top. Is that how
It's
we're
all
looking at
killer, no filler, but the killiest killers are at the top.
this? Okay. The maimers and the herders are near the bottom. Yes.
The lovers and the huggers are at the top, and just the casual acquaintances are at the bottom.
How else can we murder this
Yeah,
metaphor?
let's get through this segment. So
I
next
don't
up,
know.
so go buy Be Kind to Yourself, $8 on catalog right now. Next up is Don't Wake Roko. It's free by 400 by 240. I don't know how I missed this. I just happened to scroll way back just to see if I missed anything, and this I don't know, caught my attention. I don't know, it's some like dragon, and it's like a speed-based cranking game, like you crank really fast and get high scores, but it's so cute looking. The art is amazing.
It
Mhm.
does look really polished. I am in disbelief this is free, but better try it out before it's not. Okay.
It is free. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
Must be seen to be believed.
Okay, so this is the killiest of killers because we didn't even receive a review code. It's free, so you know it must be good, right? Is that
We
how this
all
goes down?
received a review code.
And it's
But
free.
the Earth, yes. It's
Okay,
a gift to us all.
fantastic.
Speaking
All
of
right.
gifts to us all, have you guys played Zelda Four Swords?
Yeah.
What if I
Did that
told you
horse-
there was only
did that-
two of those swords? Because
Okay.
there's a game called Two Swords by Vacuum Brew Studios, and the idea is you plug your Playdate into Playdate Mirror on your computer, and then your friend plugs a controller into that computer, and you play a Playdate game with two players on your computer using your
Now-
Playdate and Mirror.
This is cool.
I knew
That's
this
Can
had
we-
unique appeal.
Multiplayer action I'm interested in seeing explored. So very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I agree about being interested in seeing multiplayer action explored on the Playdate. Can we please get a link cable?
here's-
Can we please allow this to happen on multiple play dates?
We don't know that that's possible with the Playdate.
We don't know that yet, but Ryan, this is the step towards that beautiful future.
How
One of
long
us likes
before-
doing interviews. Maybe that person could interview the person who knows the inside of the Playdate.
Look, I am waiting
Over at Panic.
for one of you to do an interview. Can you please do an interview with someone at Playdate and ask them that question?
Someone in Panic, or someone inside the Playdate.
Someone at Panic. Yes, that's what I meant. Not somebody trapped inside a Playdate.
I can fire off a blue sky and see if anybody bites. That's the extent
you
of my
could-
interview.
maybe you could-
skills.
At Nevin, see what at Nevin has to say.
I feel like he's probably been asked 900 times. But
Maybe
sure.
he'll direct us to one of those responses,
Okay.
and then we would
Anyway.
know the answer to this question.
In the
How long
meantime, Two
should we keep
Swords.
talking about this?
Let's just move right on. And this is a proof of concept. It might be expanded upon, but pretty cool idea.
It sounds really cool.
And even more cool because it's free. Thank you, Vacuum Brew Studios.
Indeed. Next up by Gigon is Push 4. I think we have a new genre here. I think we have shift likes.
Oh,
This is yet another shift like game for the Playdate, but this is a multiplayer shift like. It's
how
shift,
do you
but
multiplay?
you're pushing the tiles in like a Connect 4 kind of thing. You're trying to match 4, but you're shifting the tiles so your friend cannot make a match. And there's also a CPU, so you can play.
Turn-based. Okay.
Yeah, you can play against AI or against your, pass the Playdate around, play against a
This
friend.
actually looks pretty amazing.
So
I'm-
the twist is that it's based on a game for the ZX Spectrum called Think. So it's a pre-shift like. It's the ghost of shift like. Anyway, looks pretty cool. And guess what? It's free. A gift to us all.
Man, we are just being rained upon with free games this week. Don, nice finds on these freebies. My goodness. They don't look like dogs either. Remember, they're at the top of the
Thanks,
list.
Ryan.
Killiest of killers.
I'll be interested to hear what Uncrank'd Software thinks about shift likes. I'm curious.
We'll
what
get a
kind of
correction.
feelings-
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
or what if shift was a push 4 like? Who knows?
Shift like sounds a little catchier than push for like.
What if
Push for like
it's
sounds like a tweet thing.
what if it was a
Yeah, it sounds like a paid like service.
what if it was a think like? A think exclamation like.
All right, next up we've got Rocket Bites by possibly Axolotl has hit catalog today, $3. We talked about this game quite a bit when it came out. Great little lunar lander like.
How many times are we going to say like this episode?
A lot less than most podcasts say the word like.
Is that true?
Oh my gosh, that vocal tick. Whatever, we all have them. Anyway, very cool game, and give it a go. If you haven't played this, if you're a long-time Playdate owner, I'm sure you played it because it's a Playdate classic. But if you haven't, now is the time to hop in. Great soundtrack, built-in level editor, so give it a go.
I'm surprised it took this long to hit catalog. That seems like a real solid game. So kudos.
I was thinking about that, cutting you off. I was thinking about cutting you off. But also, maybe some of these devs held their games until the Playdate was available. Like, once the pre-order period was kind of over and they were readily available. Does that seem like a thing? Because then you can kind of strike when the iron's hot.
So I'm trying to understand your hypothesis. You think that maybe devs held on to put their games on catalog until all pre-orders were fulfilled and people could order a Playdate if they wanted to. Is that your hypothesis?
Possibly
Axolotl?
It was already a hit on itch with the early adopters like us. You could already get it. But think about it. If you bought a PS5 today, are you going to go buy a game that came out 4 years ago? Or are you going to go buy Dragon's Dogma 2 or Steel Rising or something, or Baldur's Gate 3?
4 years ago.
Whenever it came out. I don't know. Anyway, are you going to go buy a game when the system launched, or are you going to buy something that everybody's talking about right now? It just came out. Odds are that's what's cheapest. Nick is an enigma, but odds are you're built up in like, oh, what's on the store today? Oh, this is $3.
Did I tell you about this Game Boy game I just bought?
All right. Ledbetter, if you want hosting duties, let me know. Literally anyone besides the two hosts of this podcast, let me know if you want to host, and we will swap you out.
Oh, I thought you were offering yourself as the sacrificial host. Like, Ledbetter would have to come deal with our incompetence.
If he wants it, we'll all go. We're a package deal, or just you two are a package. Next up is Noblins by Buck Young and Travis Maynard. We talked about this a little while back. It's a music rhythm game with really bizarre looking creatures. Each creature makes weird noises and you hatch them kind of like Pokemon style. And then you can make little noises with them on a stage. Can't remember what we compared this game to, and neither can either of you, or you would have piped up right then. So anyway, it's a fun game. It's sort of like a mix between a music toy, like Electroplankton, and kind of like those kids apps on iPad where they can make noise as well. But it's really charming, even though it's kind of grotesque. If you look at the GIFs and it looks like something for you, then it is for you. So give it a look in our show notes. Noblins.
Okay, neat. Can I please read the description for the next game, Don?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, the next game is called Crank-a-Sketch, and it says, red is now yellow, and the two buttons are now the crank and the directional pad. Otherwise, it works almost the same as before. We don't even need to say what they're talking about. So this is a little drawing program on the Playdate, and you can buy it for $2 whole. It says if you make a mistake, you can undo it, unlike the original. So much digitization is allowed. And you can even save your results as a screenshot and shake it to start the next artwork. Funsies. All right, that's a new one from catalog as well.
I wonder how you undo it. Maybe just tap B and it'll undo less movement.
That would seem intuitive.
I don't know. Pretty cool. That is by Rico Becker, by the way.
Nice work, Rico. You made us all get real silent here. Okay, so I think that's it for the indie inventory, guys. Am I missing anything? I feel like Don, you always have something to tell me before I let loose with the boops.
Generally, there were a ton of early access games and game jam games. And I did want to ask you guys and the listeners with that kind of stuff. I usually don't mention it because it's just not a whole lot there, and then it gets a bigger release later often. Do you want me to mention that kind of stuff, or is it better just to wait?
What kind of stuff? I got distracted. I thought Nick was leaving us.
He's often tempted. Would you rather I bring up interesting looking early access games and whatnot, or just let them sit until they're fully baked? Listeners, I would like to know, and I'm asking you to.
I think I probably appreciate your culling of the list, meaning giving us more baked games than less, and then holding off until they're a little further baked. That's my opinion anyway.
I would say the exception would be game jam games, where I think if we all set aside, a number of them to maybe try it together, or if we happen to see one that's like, oh, you got to try this interesting experiment, it might be fun to chat about. But yeah, otherwise, your culling of the list seems appropriate.
Okay. I had thought that maybe when game jams pop up, it would be fun to just have a little game jam focus instead of doing an indie inventory. Maybe we all just go over the game jam games, because it's not like there's 100 of them. Most I've seen is 15 or 20 or so. So anyway, cool. Thank you guys.
Yeah, we can get on board. That means we're coming to boo boo boo. Oh, that was not respectful. Boo boo boo.
True,
Indie
Lord.
inventory for no. We just did indie inventory. Pick of the week. Hoobity boop. Pick of the week is what's happening now, and it's for the game called No Caddie Needed. And guess who picked it? That's me. So this is a golf game, and it is presented in 2 dimensions. So you are looking at it as you would like a platformer, a side scroller, and you're not looking from overhead. You're not seeing the multiple directions. You're whacking the ball over toward the right-hand side. But between you and the hole, you've got some obstacles. There could be hills. There could be berms. There could be sand traps. There could be trees. There could be a little bird that never touches the ball. There's a number of different things that you see in this game, but it's a 2D side-scrolling golf game. That's what we're looking at here. And let's see here. We have some instructions when you start. There's a nice instructional mode. Even when you press the circle button, the pause button, and the menu comes up, over to the side of the menu, there's a nice little brief instructional bit that you can remind yourself of how to play. I thought that was quite nice. There's a lead-in practice round to kind of get you up to speed on this whole golf thing you're doing, and then some different courses that you can choose from as well. I've got some thoughts, but before I get to those and talk any more than I already have, I would like to hear from Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Baldridge. What did you think of this game?
It's fun. I don't really play golf in real life, but I enjoy a good video game golf game every so often, and I thought this was a neat abstraction for the Playdate. The crank mechanic I thought worked very well. I was surprised actually at how nicely it worked and the way that it changed with the different clubs that you pick. I thought these golf courses might have the most number of birds on them that I've ever seen in my life, though. I was a little worried about all these birds everywhere. But
did your path of ball ever get changed by a bird?
Not that I noticed.
Yeah, me neither. Okay, just making sure that wasn't a possibility. Okay, go on.
The button mechanic, you can dock your crank and then you can use the button to swing, and that works unlike a traditional 3-click system in other video game golf games, but I thought it worked really well in this too. I was very impressed with that mechanic, as it's quite different from other video game golf games. And the thing that I loved the most about this game were the call outs.
Yeah.
I loved it. So there's this game that I'm pretty sure this is the game. I just looked it up. It's called Link's The Challenge of Golf. And it came out in 1990. It was for DOS. And I played the heck out of this game, and it had the most sarcastic commentary. It was so great. I was constantly hitting trees and say things like, "Oh, looks like you hit the tree, Jim," but in a super digitized voice. The voice samples in this are really good. I was impressed with the clarity of them, and when you hit like a patch of water or something, it's usually a sarcastic, but in a kind sort of voice way that I found very appealing. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. At first, I was playing this game with the audio off, and then when I turned the audio on, I was just immediately charmed, and I turned it all the way up and made sure my entire family could hear as I floundered my way through the course. But
It does feel like something's missing when the audio's not there.
Yeah. And so your whole family heard your dry platitudes. Oh, a birdie.
Yeah. Oh, bogey.
Yeah,
huh?
that was a bogey, huh? That was pretty amazing.
Yeah. So that was fun. And yeah, I do tend to agree. There was something that was missing. I was enjoying my time with it in silent mode, but once I turned the audio on, there was no turning back. And yeah, there were a couple of things that I had questions on, like kind of UI things, and then from a graphical standpoint, I did have a hard time seeing some things. This goes back to Ryan's typical critique of fonts being too small and outlines being too small and those kind of things. But other than that, the actual gameplay experience I thought was really well thought out and well done. Don, what did you think?
Yeah, I play a lot of golf games. I enjoy golf quite a bit. I can't afford to play it in real life anymore. But sports games are pretty easy to figure out the rules and just get up and go. So I was very interested in playing this. I will say, if you download the demo and then buy the game, I ran into like a weird bug where it only would recognize the demo. So I ended up having to uninstall everything and then reinstall just the full game, which is the same file.
By uninstall everything, you mean uninstall the demo?
I uninstalled the demo, I deleted my save, but then when I installed the game again, it ended up, down the list wherever the demo was located. It's like a Playdate thing. I don't know why it does that. When I've had other like early copies and then the full copy comes out, it does the same thing. It's a weird Playdate thing, but it frustrated me for a little while because I couldn't figure out how to play the game. I could only do the practice course. Anyway, so heads up, if you download the demo and then buy the real game, it might take a little finagling, or maybe I'm an idiot. But anyway, after I got it figured out, there's two courses. I will mention that, and I much preferred I think Copper Lodge over the sand course.
Mm-hmm.
The sand course seemed to be like 99% sand, but the Copper Lodge I had a lot of fun with, and the crank was pretty easy to understand. You pull up clockwise and then pull back for your speed, and it felt good. It was fun. It was a good use of the crank. It was fun watching the ball bounce off of stuff, bounce off of a rock, or it was satisfying to see it hit a hill and roll down in a way that you would expect the ball to naturally travel. The physics were pretty good for a Playdate game that's well, I'm guessing one person or whatever. It was more ambitious than I expected. I like the scorecard. It keeps track of everything. We already talked about the sound. There's a a guide, and I don't feel like the guide gives you enough information, maybe, because it wasn't until Nick told me to dock the crank that I realized about pushing the A button to swing.
Hmm.
I was trying to figure out how to do that, and it never occurred to me to dock the crank because I just never docked the crank. It seems like you could just hold the A button. You don't use it for anything else. So,
I think they're trying to avoid conflicts between the crank movements and the A button. So
I could see that.
if you're holding the A button and then the crank accidentally moves, which
Mhm.
does it prioritize? So it makes sense, but maybe an on-screen prompt or something like, "Hey, dock your crank,"
Yeah.
would be helpful. Yeah.
There's a little bar that shows your spin at the very top of the swing or your rotation of the ball. And I didn't understand that for a while. I thought like where the ball was in the little spin guide was your like break point where you were aiming for. So I was constantly aiming for that, and then I would kind of screw up and the ball wouldn't go as far as I wanted to or go too far. So it's good to read the instructions for the rules that are there. The instructions it's a cute little guide and whatnot. It's nice that it's available. Um, yeah, it's fun. There's one big thing that frustrated the hell out of me. If you saw my 118 swing point round, but I will let Ryan butt in here.
Well, now you've got me curious. What I have some moans and niggles about this too. But before we get into that, I will say that something that I thought was really great was the clarity of the game. And Nick, I was surprised to hear you say that maybe it wasn't as visually clear for you, because I thought the silhouette approach for the golfer, the green, the flag, the ball, was super legible. Was it
All
something
all
else
that
that was?
stuff all that stuff was perfect. The thing that I had issue with was the UI outside of the actual gameplay.
Was it the
It was
tiny text?
the tiny text, and
Okay.
then like the scorecard. There were different symbols for how well you did, but they
Mhm.
were very similar. Like they would change the line thickness on a square outline to indicate how many strokes you were within. It was like bogey and double bogey and other things. Anyway, it changed basically the thickness, and it wasn't quite as clear or distinct as I thought it could be.
Okay,
But
that
maybe
makes
The A and
that's a
the
sense.
me
B button
problem.
look the same too
And
in the
that too.
menus.
Oh, in the tutorial,
Yeah.
which I thought it was super cool that it popped it up initially and was like, "Hey, you want to read the manual?" And I said, "Of course. I don't want to be Nick of the past who didn't read the manual. Um, I'm going to read this manual." And then I couldn't figure out which button it was indicating in the manual. So yeah, that things like that, relatively minor. And then the actual gameplay, I thought was very clear.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that made me a little less excited to play this game was the speed. I don't know if you guys felt this, but whenever the ball was hit for me, it felt like everything was in slow motion. And I was just sort of like waiting for the ball to do the thing it's supposed to do. It wasn't moving at the pace of proper physics and proper gravity. It's like everything was moving through jello. And it felt like a needlessly long time for the ball to do its thing or to finally come to a rolling stop. Did you guys feel that, or am I just on speed?
It could be an optimization thing, but I played a lot of PS1 golf games and they kind of felt the same way.
I didn't feel any frame dipping, which is kind of what you're describing. And I was actually very impressed with how smoothly the ball traveled, like with all the birds that are everywhere. Um, they're constantly flying, getting in the way as the ball's traveling. So those are things which would typically slow something like this down, because it's got to calculate the trajectory of the bird as the ball is moving and coming to a stop. The thing which I will agree with that you said is that it does take a while for the ball to settle sometimes. You know, it's moving a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of an inch, and it's not even visible to you, but it's still, the physics engine is saying, yeah, it's still moving. Hold on. So you may be waiting for 5 seconds after it appears that the ball came to a stop before you're given control again, which does feel like an eternity sometimes, but it depends on where you land. So Ryan, I'd say play better.
All
A
right.
lot of
Thank you for the tip.
a lot of golf games have a hold button to fast forward, like hold B and you'll fast forward till the ball rests. And this could benefit from that. As far as the fidelity, there were times where the arrow was hard to recognize, and every golf game really benefits from being able to track where the arrow is. And I felt like that is where the camera stuttered. When I wanted to pan over to the hole, it would very slowly do so,
Oh,
or it would
I didn't
kind of
even know
like
you
stutter
could.
over to it. Yeah, when you change your club, you want to see how far where the hole is.
Yeah,
So you want to see how
I
far you
just
can
had to
hit it.
guess.
Yeah, just click the left and right button, Nick. You got this.
Well,
Click left
I
and right
refuse.
better.
That's a big quality of life thing too, is that if you're, let's say you use your sand wedge and then the hole is still 270 yards away, obviously you're not using your sand wedge again. It should
Right.
switch to a 3-iron or something automatically.
I was
Just a quality of
surprised that it
life, not have you
didn't. Yeah.
have to switch through all your clubs. I've never seen a golf game do that. And so when I first started that Dunes course, I was like, is the whole course literally sand? Because I just keep having my sand wedge out, and it's
Oh,
very
you
hard to
weren't
tell what
changing it.
was. No, I just thought I was just having my sandwich, and it's hard to tell what was sand and what wasn't because the sand indicator is just a thin white line, where the sand traps could have been much deeper. I mean, the whole bottom of the screen is black, so the sand really could have been a very clear white dip, just like how the water is this clear, or excuse me, this gray bowl, basically. The sand trap could be a much wider, longer, or thicker, I guess, line. Oh, I'm definitely in sand. I'm definitely not in sand because there's no white line under me.
Yeah, that's true. Although they did let you know you're playing in the dunes, so there's sand everywhere, Don. Come on.
Then it should be a pitch and putt where every hole is like 80 yards long, not 300 yards long.
I'm messing with you. I also felt some feelings about this game in another particular way, and I'm curious if this is another just me thing. I thought that I would very much enjoy a 2D side-scrolling golf experience. I found myself longing for a more overhead approach to golf because essentially I think one of the things I really enjoy about golf games is the geometry of it. Aiming, getting it in the right place, taking into account wind. And this was just like you're always going one direction. So you're just like whacking the bejesus out of it or whacking less of the bejesus out of it to get it into a hole. And for me, I missed that geometry of a more typical overhead bird's eye view golf experience. What say you to this?
So you missed 3 dimensions.
To my surprise, yes, because typically when I'm watching my son play the latest walkabout switch game, I'm like, there's too many dimensions. I don't want to play my shadow. I just want to be able to platform or move in a way that I understand because there's X and Y coordinates on your D-pad, and that makes sense. But this whole like three-dimensional it makes my brain hurt for one reason or another. However, in a golf game, I missed that overhead experience. It doesn't even have to be a 3D experience. It could be a 2D overhead experience, or it could be like
Mario Golf,
isometric. Yeah.
NES or NES Open, I guess.
I missed
Okay.
I missed that aspect of geometry and aiming. Did you guys feel that?
It's a different type of golf game. This is the 2D golf game, so I knew what I was getting into. It's different.
Have you played
There's
2D golf games before? I have not.
yeah, there's a ton. I mean,
Okay.
Desert Golf is a big one on iPhone or mobile that is just like this. You just play it forever. It's endless golf basically. But there's a lot of games similar to this. Did you ever get a really windy hole, like super windy, where the flag is like really flapping, and you'll hit the
Not
ball
sure I
and it
did.
like comes back to you half as hard as you hit it?
I don't think so.
Oh God, those were fun because you really had to crank the hell out of it, or it'll just go up and then like kind of just stop and come down.
Hmm.
And I
Maybe I
like that
did
there
and
was that much thought put into it.
Maybe I did and I didn't realize it because I felt like almost every hole I had to really give it a good whack, and it would
We'll get
still
to that.
require multiple hits to get to the hole.
Yeah.
Did did either of you play the course with the rock that is like a foot in front of the starting pin?
Yeah, the giant
Yes.
rock. Yeah.
Yes.
That one took me a while.
It's a cute idea.
Yeah.
Oh, Ryan,
Sometimes-
it's also satisfying to like in a 2D golf game to hit like the perfect shot and it just has the perfect roll where it'll either bounce super far and go right into the hole, or it'll just kick just perfect and pop into the hole. It's just that's what's satisfying about this type of game. I like the type of game you're describing as well. I guess the elephant in the room is putting. Putting
Yep.
needs work. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Like
Yeah.
I felt like I kind of had it down for a little while, and then the next time I picked up my Playdate, it was all gone because the round where I was like 115 or 118, there was one hole where I was like there's a par 3 or 4, but I had 19 and I was hitting it, I don't know, I was 4 inches away, but it says 6 meters or something. But anyway, I was like, whatever, 4 inches away, about the width of a ball, but you can either hit it an inch or 10 meters, and it's the same like amount of holding the button. And I just kept hitting it over the hole or not to the hole. And I
Okay,
would
so were
be
you-
about the same distance from the
I-
hole each time.
Did
Were you
not
doing
have that
button?
experience.
Were you doing button or crank?
That time I was doing button.
Okay, because I was going to say, I think you can pull back that lever, the
Crank is
crank,
easier. Yeah.
and not go quite as far back
Mhm.
and then hit it. And then you can hit it between 2 inches and
But
2
we're reviewing the
kilometers.
game. And so I was holding it for different intervals. You can see how long your meter
Yeah.
goes up, but
Right.
it needs like hash marks or something to really dial in. Okay, here's where the third was leaving the ball. Here's where the fifth hash mark. Just like a skill shot on a pinball machine, how they have that arrow over the shooter rod.
Yep.
Some indicator. It's almost worthless, but it's something.
No, that makes a lot of sense though, because if you're just trying to gauge your power on an unmarked circle or
Meter.
bar or what have
Yeah.
you, meter, yeah, that can be tough because otherwise, if it's there, you can say, oh, okay, I got up to 4 or I got up to 6 and I'll do less next time. Whereas if that's not there, you don't know if you did more or less. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good suggestion.
Also, let us use whatever club we want whenever we want. I use drivers out of sand traps all the time in other games. You can only use a pitching wedge or a sand wedge out of a sand trap. That drove me nuts. I don't want to shoot it straight up out of this trap. Let me have my best opportunity to put the ball where I want to put it. I'm not expecting to drive it 300 yards out of a sand trap, but let me drive it at a low angle or whatever I want to do.
I am not a golfer, so this is a question which is probably simple and stupid, but in real life, would you use a different club in that situation?
It just
driver.
depends. Sometimes you want a lower shot. Sometimes the sand trap is very low compared to the green and you need the lift. Sometimes I don't want that much lift. And I'm not that skilled with this club or that club. Sometimes I want to get it a lot further. It's a low sand trap with a low lip and I still have 150 yards to go. Yeah, I might as well use a 5 iron or a 7 iron. get enough lift to get out of the trap and still get some yardage out of it. This is a video game though. What's the difference? Like, let me use whatever club I want. If I want to use a putter and it screws up and goes 2 inches, fine. What's the difference? That bothered me.
Yeah, that was an instance where no caddy needed felt like they were imposing a caddy on you. You can only use these 2 things.
Oh, there's the box quote.
Ouch.
No,
I
not
hope
a
not.
box quote. A review quote. Sorry.
All right. Well, we have been talking here a bit, guys.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too long in the tooth. Is there anything that you wanted to bring up about No Caddy Needed that we have not talked about yet?
It's just
really
quality of life stuff. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I really enjoyed the game, and I appreciated a lot of the subtle touches that were in this game that obviously took a tremendous amount of time to implement. It was a lot of work to make this game, and I could tell that, every time that I picked it up. So, cool game, worth checking out. This is my opinion.
There's a lot to love here, and as far as I know, there's nothing really like this on the Playdate. And by no means is this like a bad golf game or this ruined the experience. It's nothing like that. It's something where the more you play it, the better you're gonna get. And I definitely feel like it was worth picking up. It's something that I will go back to. Yeah, again, it didn't spoil the experience, and I really had a lot of fun on Copper Lodge, and I probably won't play Dunes as much, but Copper Lodge, I was like, oh, this game slash, man, this is a good one. So,
And just to wrap things up here, I want to mention that I did not have a chance to play one of the things I was most excited about on this game, which is a 2-player game. So if you and all of us ever get together in person at any point, it would be fun to hand a play date back and forth and really try to battle your buddy and see if you could, catch him on a 119 stroke course or something like that. So anyway, that's a really cool feature too that we did not even bring up here. So like Don said, lots to love here. No caddy needed. We'll have a link to that in the show notes for today's episode. And with that, let's see. I think Don's coming up next episode with another banger. Don, what you got in store for us?
yeah, this is a game that came out a long time ago, but I've always really liked it. Been wanting to feature it for a long time. It said I picked it up over a year ago. So this is Mad City by Tanuk Productions, I assume. Yeah, it looks like GTA, but it really isn't. You're trying to drive your car across town, and you run into different different obstacles, and it's sort of like a maze, but colorful. You have fuel to keep track of, and different modes and whatnot. Anyway, very cool game, a lot of fun, and I'm curious to see what everybody thinks about it. So give it a go. It's on itch right now. It's $5, and there'll be a link in the show notes.
Interesting. Looks like a hoot. So I'm sure that'll be another good pick as usual from you, Don. No pressure though. In the meantime, you can email us at helloplaydatepodcast@gmail.com. You can
Hang on.
What?
I forgot like a catalog game that I was super excited about. For some reason I didn't put it on here. That Icy Dungeon game came out today. Remember I was so excited about that?
Was that on a podcast I listened to?
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago. Remember just the demo came out? I was so excited because I was like, this is gonna be my game of the week. And I was like, no, I want Mad City to be my next one. Oh my gosh. Okay. Sorry, Icy Dungeon dev, Dylan Doherty. Okay. I'll put it at the top of the notes next episode, but Icy Dungeon, go buy it. It's $3. Really fun. Sorry to interrupt you again, Ryan.
I think that was just Don getting salty about not getting a free copy. Is that right? Is that why it wasn't on the list?
Yeah, pushed it to the bottom. I already bought it, but give somebody else a free copy for me.
All right.
I'm really excited to play Mad City. I haven't really had a chance to sit down with it. So this is a really great opportunity to do that. Thanks, Don, for picking that game. And we'll check out that other one another time.
Yeah, for sure.
Way cool. So I will start up on the end of show stuff so that Don can interrupt me again when I'm saying we're on Instagram at Helloplaydatepodcast. You can also call us on the bingo tips line. Remember that's 724 bingos 1 724-246-4671, and you will maybe be featured on this show just like
I don't know. Nick's the one who knows. I
Nick.
don't know who
Nick,
it
who
is.
called?
Ice
Just
cream man
like
call.
them, and we will listen to it right after you call, but then forget about it by the time we record, so that we're extraordinarily awkward all over again.
Yay,
And,
awkward podcasting.
what am I missing? Discords. We have the Discords. You can show up there.
Good job, Ryan.
And make sure you at me if you have anything to say to me, because I'm real bad at Discords. But Don and Nick are super good at Discords. So that's everything, right?
Yeah.
We're
Good
on
job.
the blue
Strong
skis.
finish.
We're on the blue skis. What's our blue ski?
I don't know, Ryan. It's not written down here.
Playdate. Hello.
You're making me feel pressure now.
Interesting.
I'm
Okay,
on the spot.
well,
It's helloplaydate.bsky.social. Got
that thing
that?
that Don said. Go
Yes.
find us there. Occasionally we'll
Oh Lord.
we'll blue ski at you, and you might see visible awkwardness instead of just audio awkwardness. All right. Lovely talking with you, listener. Lovely talking with you, Don. Lovely talking with you, Nick.
Brutal.
Goodbye.